Okay, so this has now imported all of the textures in here, and we're going to make a material. So you just need to first save your package, then right click and create a new material. So I gave it a group and a name, and we're just going to make a very simple material at the moment. So we're going to select diffuse texture and drag it over. Same with the normal, and also the same with the specular, like so. It is a very simple texture for now, so I'm going to drag a line between the two textures like so. So we select, we go into specular, normal for this one, like so, and then a specular on the top like so, and just drag bits and pieces. Now, one thing I will say about this material, it is very simplistic. Okay, if you want to look at better or more complex examples of materials, have a look at some of the vehicle materials and some of the other texture files. Okay, some of these are quite complicated, but some aren't. Now this one, for instance, so you can see different ways of doing a diffuse and emissive texture. So this one's got some basic reflectivity on the shader, and it's also got some scrolling sections in the hit effect there. So there's all sorts, and that's not a particularly complicated one. Some materials will actually have different sort of multipliers and things that go into the material to attenuate the normal map or adjust the diffuse in a specific way. So have a look through some of these, because you can find all sorts of neat little tricks with the materials. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this texture here. It is relatively just drag and drop. I'm using my left mouse button and control to shift these around the screen, and that's all I'm going to do for the moment. If you want glowing textures, wallop it into the emissive slot. If you've got opacity, obviously opacity, and then all of the others will do a similar sort of typical effect. Okay, so for now I'm going to leave my material quite simplistic. Yeah? We might come back to it later and have a look at making him a bit more shiny, but that will do for now. Okay, so I'll go back to my package, if I can find him, and I'm going to right click and save again. Then I'm going to go click on Add, find him. I'm going to go to my mesh, materials. I'm going to go back to my general tab, select the Add material. Then I'm going to click on the Use Current selection. Okay, like so. Well, that's applied texture to the model. Okay, so now we have our material set up on the skeletal mesh, which is useful because now we can start to play with them actually in the game engine. Yeah, so that's pretty much the basis on how to set him up in the game engine, so that works quite well. Okay, so with that done, we can actually start to use him in the game engine. And what I'm going to do now is save. I'm just going to build a very fast level to test him out on. So I'm going to fully load some of these packages which have got some textures in, and we're just going to look at building a few bits and pieces to test him. So I'm going to make quite a largish cube. Let's have a look. Don't want to make it bigger than that. 48, and build him like so. Hit close. Now, with this cutter shape, in fact what I'm going to do is let me do something different. Being a bit special here at the moment, make this quite thin. I'm just going to build a room. Generally this sort of practice it's not too recommended, but for our case what I'm doing is just making a very simplistic room to test the model in, so it's okay. And what I want to do is, let's have a look, I'm going to test some of these textures and see. So I'm going to do a CSG add, that will add the shape to the room. I'm going to turn it here so I can see the visible. Well, it's a bit of a nasty texture if you ask me. Let's see if there's anything actually that looks only half decent in this package. And it might take a few goes to find something that you like, because not all of these texture packages are fantastic. I'm now going to go and look for my Unreal tournament directory. What I'm going to do here is open up a few of the environments and look for some floor textures. So there's all sorts of things you can see here that we can go and nab. So this is the folder to come to if you want to find some wall textures and different bits and pieces. Open a few of these. It usually doesn't take too long, but if you do open 20 packages at the same time, expect for it to take a little longer than normal. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll through and see if there's anything that I like here. I'm going to turn off show all resources and just keep it to materials. So we've got NECs. Okay, so let's have a nose. Being a bit overly picky, to be honest, but there's so much to choose from with Unreal, you just want to have a look at it all sometimes. So yeah, what you want to do is just find something that you think is going to be appropriate to your particular environment that we're going to make. So I'm going to go with a very basic tiled floor texture. I'll close it for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my blue brush here, which is my left mouse button. I'm going to hold Alt and move it upwards. This will duplicate it, but remember that you're not going to see this in the sky until you actually rebuild it. And what I'm going to do now is save my level as well. So I'm going to save this as ed209 playtest. And this will save it into your unpublished folder in your My Documents. Okay? So if I rebuild my map, get my brush on top. But note, I've got a bizarre texture on the top there, so I can change that back. What we can also do now with these shapes is we can either adjust the actual builder brush, or we can go in and adjust an existing additive brush. I'm just going to adjust the builder brush because that's what I want to do. And let's have a play. Find the builder brush again from the side. So I'm using all of my viewports here. Just lining this up to make a wall. What you want to do is have a no light escape at this point, okay? I'm just pressing the square brackets on my keyboard to change the grid size so I can snap to a smaller grid size so I can fit this builder brush in better. Okay. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to do another add. And I'm going to turn geometry mode off for the moment. And take it all the way over to the other side. In terms of scale, don't quote me on this, but I imagine, or I believe, the scale is around 70 units for an average player height. Okay, something you should do a bit more of a research on when you're trying to build your levels. course you want to get everything to scale. So it's quite good sometimes just to get a prop in your level, or a static mesh in your level, just so that you can see what's going on. I just rotated my builder brush and now adjusting the shape just a tiny bit, just to make sure it's going to fit. Okay, and do the same again. Add, and then just move it right down to the other end. You can do this so many different ways in Unreal. I'm just showing you how to use the geometry tool just because it can be quite useful later on when you do some more of the advanced things. And don't worry, if you want to change this back to your default size, you can just click on any of the other primitives, and as you can see it's resizing it. Okay. So, other things we need to do. Right, first off, I'm moving around my perspective view. I'm using my left mouse button, my right mouse button, and both of them together to pan up and down. I'm going to right click and add actor. This is any kind of entity, a function in the game. I can add player starts, guns, cars, that thing. I'm going to add a player start. And I'm also going to add a light. With the lights set, I'm going to go and press build all. Okay. Just going to check that particular one. And it seems that I've got a few unnecessary materials, so I'm going to clean them off. Okay, I'm going to rebuild just to make sure. One of the typical errors is that, of course it's a deathmatch game, it'll complain that you've not got 16 star points, but we don't need it for now. Okay, so I'm going to change to lit and move my light up and down. If your level takes a long time to compile, chances are that you've got a subtractive map. Subtractive map. Subtractive maps will take a lot longer to compile than additives, so I recommend using additive just for speed comparison. Okay. Sadly, if you started in subtractive, there's no actual way to convert, as far as I'm aware of. So sadly, that means you have to adjust. Okay. So next thing, let's open up our packages. Click on Show All, and let's find Ed. I'm selected. I'm going to add actor. I'm going to add a skeletal mesh, and this will put Ed into the environment. Now, he won't be lit correctly until we use a dynamic light, because at the moment this is a static light, so it will only light static surfaces or static items. Okay. So we need to work with adding an additional light. Okay, so to make this light dynamic, we have to do several things. Open it up into its properties, and you'll find this little tab, or I'll show you exactly how we go through. If you click Expand Light, and then Light Component, and if you scroll down to the lighting channels, tick Dynamic, and that will give you a dynamic light. You can then move the light around, and it will affect your model as you would expect it to do. Yeah. Okay, so that's one way. Other things we can do is we can say cast dynamic shadow. So if this light moves, so will Ed's shadow. But be wary though, the more you add to this sort of thing, obviously the more computational sort of resources you're going to need to get it to look better, to get it to run, sorry. I'm just going to duplicate. And go to the properties, and you're just going to adjust and have a mess around with some of the colours of the other lights. So I'm just messing with some of the brightnesses here and having a play. So you can light it whatever colour you want. I'm just showing you some of the different properties we can get to look with Ed. So there's all sorts of colours. Obviously this is very, very disgusting now, but you've got different sort of bits and pieces that we can have a play with here to get the most out of it. And I advise that don't make all of these cast dynamic shadows. There's no point. You just need to pick one or so, and then probably use the load quite a bit on Ed. So that's Ed as skeletal mesh lit in the game engine. We can now save this, and if I right click and click on play from here, take a while, but I can have a wander around. You can see Ed in the engine. Looks rather nice. What we can also look at is we can look at getting his actual animation to play now. We can also look at physics and other bits and pieces. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to look at some sections on physics, we're going to look at some sections on playing his animation, and we'll just explore some of the basic topics of Unreal 3. Okay, so thanks for watching so far.